I feel like recently, prospect expectations have been getting so all over the place and just misconstrued. In 2012, the fail for Nail Yakima draft was one of the weakest drafts of this entire generation, with multiple massive busts within the top 5. A few years later, in 2015, we had arguably the best draft in NHL history, with hidden gems still popping up to this day. In 2019, we had quite possibly the most ruthless race I have ever seen, as fans were just straight up attacking each other online, saying why Kak or Hughes was gonna win the Calder, just for both of them to be left off the ballots altogether. I mean, hey, I even thought Alexis Lafreniere was a Calder finalist lock. He didn't even receive a single vote. Not to mention this upcoming draft is riddled with incomplete stat lines and pandemic complications, which in turn should be super entertaining as we don't even have a clue who will go number 1, which is actually pretty reminiscent to the 2017 NHL draft, so that would be cool. But without a doubt, this draft may be one of the biggest crapshoots in history. However, and this cannot be said lightly, these upcoming drafts are gonna be absolutely insane, with some of the most dominant prospects I have seen in my lifetime, as we as hockey fans are about to be blessed with some incredible talent. And you know what else would be incredible? If you press that subscribe button for some more awesome hockey content. In my last Prodigy video, which was wrongfully claimed, I did a lot of comparisons between players like Connor Bedard and other Canadian phenoms such as McDavid or Crosby, so this time around, let's expand on these comparisons, as it should hopefully clear the muddy waters and emphasize just how insane these prospects really are, because now that the year is over, we can truly go over these insane stat lines. Shane Wright, granted exceptional status in 2019 and draft eligible in 2022, so not this draft but the next draft, because after putting up a ludicrous 150 points in 72 games as a 14-year-old playing against 16-year-olds, Shane Wright has not only been living up to the hype, but he's been surpassing it, as he would put up 39 goals and 66 points in his rookie season. And for some perspective, Connor McDavid had 25 goals as a rookie, or 14 less goals than Shane Wright. On top of the fact that Shane Wright at the age of 15 would be given an A. So not only is he the youngest player in the league, who just so happened to surpass records of several Hall of Famers and current superstars, but Shane Wright is also the youngest captain in CHL history. But what makes Wright so special? Well, not only did he develop an NHL release at the age of 14, not only can he play at both ends of the ice and is an elite playmaker for his team, but Shane Wright is very comparable to someone like John Tavares, a center who is strong on the puck with a wicked release, except Shane Wright is already miles ahead of Johnny T in terms of skating and edge work. And when you look at someone like Tavares, that's his only flaw. By no means is Shane Wright a McDavid or Barzell in terms of skating ability, but he is no joke and has franchise upside to being that complete building block player. Which is why it was a tragedy when Shane Wright wasn't able to play a single OHL game last season, but he did get to play in the U18 tournament, where he did not disappoint, as he had a dominant gold medal performance with 9 goals, 14 points in only 5 games. Jack Eichel, who's also pretty reminiscent, had 5 goals, 10 points in 7 games. John Tavares had 5 points in 7 games. We keep seeing these crazy stat lines, so perspective is so important. And Shane Wright would do this as a 16-year-old going against 18-year-olds. Wild. So we as hockey fans are now gonna have a blast watching Shane Wright next season. But what are your expectations? I'm gonna guess 130 points, 65 goals, and 60 games. In fact, comment down below your guesses for everyone in this video. I would love to know. Brad Lambert, a prospect who has sneakily gone under the radar, especially with these other crazy headlining prospects like Wright. But Lambert has been a phenom in his own right. Born in Finland, played some Canadian hockey but mostly developed in Finland, Lambert has been a stud. For a quick breakdown, as a 14-year-old in a U16 league, Lambert would put up 28 goals, 47 points in 18 games. As a 15-year-old in a U20 league, so 5 years younger, Lambert would sit at just under a point per game in 2019. Not to mention he'd be called up to Liga as a 15-year-old, where he'd also put up a very impressive 2 points in his first 4 contests. And keep in mind, Lambert was 15 starting the season and was matching up against professional men and ex-NHLers. In this past season, not only was he one of Finland's top players as a quadruple underager, as he was also the youngest player in this entire tournament, but he would also put up 4 points in 7 games. Now obviously not eye-popping numbers, but if you compare his stat to other 16/17 year olds in league history, it's impressive, as he would match Connor McDavid's total at the same age and was just under Sidney Crosby. In fact, only 4 players in tournament history have put up more than 5 points as a 16-year-old. Also keep in mind, because of his late birthday, he did turn 17 during the tournament. And Lambert this season would put up 15 points in 46 Liga games. Now, not the most dominant stat line, but it definitely does speak volume to his upside and maturity. Because what makes Lambert so impressive is his tangibles, his tool set. Because as it stands so far, I would compare Lambert to someone like Matt Barzal, as he has crazy edge work and just skating ability, except has a much better release and shot. As Brad Lambert with the skating ability is a one-man breakout, has incredible vision, elite playmaking ability, constantly finding his teammates tape to tape with very difficult passes in the neutral zone, and skates laps around 95% of the competition on the ice. Now, to be honest, I do think his finishing ability is going to have to improve if he does want to be that star player, but given his toolset, Lambert has unbelievable upside, and will be battling with Shane Wright next season for that #1 selection. Shane Wright does have a very clear step on him, but anything is possible, especially if he gets a larger role in more minutes this upcoming season. I'm just very excited to see what this kid can do, as he is the epitome of the future stars we're going to see here in the upcoming future. 2023 draft. Man, this one is going to be nutty. Mattv Mitkov and Connor Redart. To sum this one up, I mean, this also is high praise, so take it with a fine grain of salt, but I can't explain these two players without making that one-to-one comparison with Crosby and Ovechkin. Not only that, what honestly gives me goosebumps as a hockey fan when you consider their generational upside is the fact that they will be entering the NHL at the exact same period as Crosby and Ovechkin will be leaving. Talk about passing the torch. And since my last update, these two kids just put up otherworldly numbers, as Connor Bedard would put up 7 goals, 14 points, and 7 U18 games as a triple underager. And the same story for Mitkov. 12 goals, 16 points in 7 games, as he was also the second youngest player in the tournament besides Bedard. And these two kids are in the same draft. Wild. And they didn't just have a great tournament, these numbers are sitting with the all-time greats. In fact, the only other players with even remotely similar numbers are Crosby, Connor McDavid, and Ovechkin. Do you get the point? Austin Matthews at the same age had 7 points in 7 games. Not bad, but not even close to the dominance of these two kids. Jack Eichel had 2 points, or 14 less points than Mitkov. Because what's crazy is they are the top standing alone. Nobody else in tournament history besides those names I just listed have even come remotely close, as most superstars we even see in the league today can't even make that tournament at that age, let alone set tournament records. I mean, both of them had over 2 points per game. Mitkov nearly had 2 goals per game. Just absurd, guys. And I really can't stress it enough how different these upcoming drafts are going to be. Not to mention, it is still too early to see how the rest of the draft is going to turn out. We might even see some other dark horses who are going to be superstars heading into this draft. And as the season wrapped up, Connor Bedard finished with 28 points in 15 games, or a 112 point pace in his rookie season. And I know some people might go, well, that probably wasn't sustainable given the sample size of games. But what I'd say to that is Bedard only played 3 games without a point, and was only getting better and better after each and every game. So in a full season, theoretically, he might have even surpassed that 112 point number. And keep in mind, Bedard still has 2 entire seasons before his draft year. I mean, given what we've seen so far, it wouldn't be crazy to see a 150 point season in the next 2 years. The last player to eclipse that mark in his draft year was, you guessed it, Sidney Crosby, as Bedard is just the complete offensive force. Elite skating, edge work, vision, a nasty release, and just crazy hockey IQ. And to reiterate, I'm not just trying to overhype these guys, the proof is in the pudding. Their objective stats are what are drawing these just crazy comparisons, as the only other players in hockey history who have come remotely close are either in the Hall of Fame right now, or are one of either McDavid, Crosby, or Ovechkin. And again, The exact same thing can be said about Mitkov, who is an elite Russian sniper. The kid had 70 goals in 26 games as a double underager, which led to 35 goals in 50 MHL games as a 15-year-old. And if you're not familiar, the MHL is a similar league structure to the CHL, but with less scoring. The only other player who has even come close to that number, you guessed it, Ovechkin. Only one. And Mattv this upcoming season is going to play in the KHL for SKA St. Petersburg. And he's going to be a 16-year-old playing in one of the toughest leagues in the world, so it's going to be fascinating to see what this kid can do, especially considering how hard it is to score in the KHL. Ovechkin at the same age had 8 goals, 15 points in 40 games. If Mattv can surpass that, we are going to see an all-time great. But man, the future of this league is going to be set up for a long time. We're going to see teams tanking for these phenoms. And it's just a crazy contrast when you look at this draft and just the skill gap in prospects, where anybody in this upcoming draft from 1 to 5 could realistically go number 1. But I guess the question is, if you could have one of Lambert, Wright, well, probably not Lambert, Redart or Mitkov, who would it be? Comment down below.